again, welcome back for the second night, second session of the talk on the first four of the six paramita. Again, we will start with a short breathing exercise, meditation to settle down our mind, to bring our mind in moment present, watching the breath mindfully for a few moments. Once your mind has been calm and quiet, then we can think there is nothing more meaningful than to be able to be help and benefit to all sentient beings, not only just oneself. And not only to be help, but to be greatest help and greatest benefit to each and every sentient being. And to be able to do that, I must achieve fully awakened state as quick as possible. And in order to achieve that fully awakened state, I must engage in both paths, such as his perfections, and in order to be able to practice them correctly, continuously, I must continue to learn and study about those practices. Therefore, I'm going to listen, and not only listen, trying to apply as much as possible in my everyday life. Okay, then we do the refuge. We go to
Sangye chudan soki chonam la chanchu badu dani kya sochi dagi jinso gi pe sonam ki dola penji sangye do asho Sangye chudan soki chonam la chanchu badu dani kya sochi dagi jinso gi pe sonam ki dola penji sangye do Sangye chudan soki chonam la chanchu badu dani kyab sochi dagi jinso gi pe sonam ki rola penshi sangye do pasho.
Fie ca toate ființele să aibă parte de fericire și de cauzele fericirii. Fie ca toate ființele să se elibereze de suferință și de cauzele suferințelor. Fie ca toate ființele să aibă parte de bucuria cea care este fără de durere. Fie ca toate ființele să trăiască în echilibru pe calea de mijloc, fără atașamente și fără aversiune.
So yesterday we discussed about the first two paramita, the paramita of generosity and the paramita of moral discipline. And today we will discuss about the paramita of patience and paramita of perseverance. So the third paramita is the paramita of patience. And patience, the practice of patience is antidote towards anger, impatience, hatred, resentment, and that. And the patience, when your patient's mind, it helps, to bring peace in our mind, calmness, peacefulness, and undisturbed, unagitated, undisturbed by such as anger, impatience, frustrations, and hatred, and so forth. And when your mind is, undisturbed and unagitated by such those negative state of minds, your mind is much more peace, calm, more happy, and you have better mental health. And with that mental health, it also helps to bring more physical support for the physical health. It brings beauty inside with that patient, and it brings beauty in your outside. You have more smile in your face when you are patient. When you are angry and upset and impatient, there's no genuine smile in your face. And when you are not that, then you don't look so attractive, nice. But when you a true smile, it's very, so it brings inner beauty as well as external beauty. And also with that kind of patience mind, it creates, the ground to develop love, compassion, bodhicitta mind. When your mind is taken by anger and hatred, there is no space, ground to feel kind, to feel compassion, to feel kind, and to feel bodhicitta towards the person with whom you are upset and angry. And again, so the patience is the mind that is undisturbed. Normally our mind is disturbed by, when harm, by the our mind is agitated, disturbed by harm inflicted by others, or we have disturbed and agitated mental anguish due to sufferings and difficult situations, circumstances. But patient mind is to be able to remain your mind undisturbed, unagitated, even when others harms you, even when there is a lot of sufferings, even when there is a lot of challenges, difficulty, problems, to be able to keep your mind undisturbed, unagitated, not get upset and angry. That is the patience. That is the patience. That is the patience mind. And again, there are a lot of research as well as personal experiences where people have observe and see when your mind is disturbed by such as anger, frustration,
recording in progress,
such as anger, hatred, or whatever negative feeling like that, then it affects your physical well-being, not only emotional well-being, but also physical well-being. People who have diabetes, blood sugars, when their mind is disturbed, then their sugar go up. People who have high blood pressures, when they have the mind disturbed by anger, the blood level go up, pressure go up, and also there are also enough research, how anger and hatred, those kind of mind, lead to, heart-related illness, stroke and other things. On the other hand, when you have patience, your patience is that stop your mind from being disturbed by anger and hatred. And in that way, then again, it helps to avoid some of those illness, Otherwise, it could arise due to, or make it worse due to those negative feelings such as, or emotions such as anger and hatred and so forth. And as Shantideva mentioned, among all the negative emotions, anger is one of the worst negative emotion that brings direct aggressions and harm to others, most likely negative emotion, most. And we can see, when people are upset and angry, they are willing to blow themselves, blow others, They take life of others so easily in the state of anger and hatred. They hurt and harm others easily with their physical aggressions, verbal aggressions, or harm themselves, hurt themselves, or both. And that is, we see, is very clear. So what is the practice that can help us to reduce and overcome such anger and hatred? Is the patience. Patience is that help. The patience practice is that help to overcome and reduce that kind of harmful negative emotions. Okay. So, in terms of patience, there are three kinds of patience, mainly, especially two, the patience of remaining calm and undisturbed. When harm is done, when someone try to harm or when someone harms. Even when someone try to harm or even when someone harms, even in such situation, even in such case, to be able to keep our mind calm, undisturbed, unagitated by that harmful actions. That's one kind of patience, to be able to do that, to keep your mind in that. So again, like as today, as we discussed with generosity and moral discipline, also here when we talk about patience, we are talking about state of mind. That kind of undisturbed, calm mind, even in situation when such as someone is trying to harm or someone's harming. So, more than the external action is the internal state of mind. That is, another patience is to be able to remain again undisturbed, unagitated, and calm, and to be able to remain calm even when we are experiencing a lot of sufferings, a lot of challenges, a lot of problems, a lot of difficulties. Because normally, when we are experiencing suffering, challenges, difficulties, problems, our mind gets disturbed, our mind gets agitated with different emotions, with different feelings, mental anguish, all of that. But patience is, even in such situations, even in such circumstances, to be able to keep your mind calm, undisturbed, unagitated. That is the second type of the patience. And the third patience is, the patience to gain assurance in Dharma, to have patience when we engage in the practice, So, coming to the first patience, to keep our mind, calm, peaceful, calm and undisturbed, unagitated, even when harm is done or when someone's trying to harm. First of all, we have to, meditate, contemplate, the uselessness of anger. The uselessness of anger and how harmful the anger is. Because that is the opposite of the patience, angry mind. not only the anger is not useful and useless, but is extremely harmful. Extremely harmful to you, is extremely harmful to your families, people around you, and to others. Is harmful in this life, is harmful in, it creates cause and condition to be harmful in the future. And by being angry, it doesn't solve the problems. Whatever situations that we're angry about, to whomever we're angry about, by getting upset with someone because he or she's harm or trying to harm, will he or she stop harming? Not necessarily. Because you are angry, he or she will not stop. It isn't. And whatever harm they have already done, we cannot undo that. As Chandrakedi said, if someone has harmed you by getting upset and angry, can you undo the harm that is already been done? We cannot. The damage, the harm already done is done. Whether you get upset or not upset. So you cannot undo the damage, the harm already done by getting upset. So you cannot change that. But by getting upset and angry, now you are hurting yourself, harming yourself by that anger arising, as I mentioned. As His Holiness Dalai Lama says, it eats your immune systems. And he's saying based on scientific research that someone have done, So, and we all know when you are upset and angry, it's not a pleasant feeling. It's not a nice feeling. It's not a peaceful feeling. Not only it is, not pleasant feeling, peaceful feeling yourself. People around you feel that energy, negative energy. When you are upset, even the animal around you can feel that energy. Your family will feel around that. Your friend will feel that energy. And that makes them uncomfortable. It makes people around you, your family, your friends, whoever's around you, even the animals, it makes them uncomfortable, unpleasant feelings. Energy is like that. Even you don't say much, you don't do them, just that energy inside you is something. It makes everyone insecure, make uncomfortable what he or she might do, what he or she might say. It makes everyone uncomfortable. Should I say something? Should I do something? Shouldn't I do something? Shouldn't I say something? Because we all feel that energy and you don't know how to respond, how to react, and make everyone tense, uncomfortable. That is how harmful it is, not only to you, but around you. So if I go with that negative energy of anger, not only is hurting me, when I go home, my family will feel that. It harms them. Before they were enjoying, happy, peaceful, and now you come that energy, they feel it, and their enjoyment is gone. Their peaceful is gone, now they become more tense. That is how harmful it is. Even we don't talk about karma, all of that, even in that everyday life, how harmful it is. So, so therefore, we reflect how it is not useful because it doesn't solve the problem, the damage, the hurt, harm already done cannot be undo and solved, but it, on top of it harms. It harms not only you, the very people around you. You are angry with someone in the United States, let's say, the president. Okay, you are upset and angry with that. Whether he gets hurt or not, while you are upset, but who get harm or hurt, harm is by very people, the families, friends. When your mind is so disturbed by that anger, that energy is felt by everyone, which is not good, pleasant feeling and energy. So therefore, that is why it's so important for not only for our own mental peace, but the peace for the whole family, friends, everyone around, that we don't bring that kind of negative energies that make them uncomfortable, tight, that make them, and then after, because they feel that energy, sometimes why do you have to be so angry? And then you become more angry, and then that is where sometimes the argument all starts. So it's not good for the harmony of the family, friends, everyone. So therefore, we have to not allow ourselves to be in a state of anger as much as possible. The moment you realize you are upset and angry, or anger is arising, immediately we try to recognize that, and immediately we try to apply different practice, different meditation, different antidote, whatever practice to reduce, so that you don't allow the anger to take over you and destroy yourself and destroy people around you, or destroy their peace and your peace around, So then but if we don't understand how harmful it is, then we think, oh, maybe it's not too bad. Sometimes we think, oh, it harms us, but we don't recognize how it is harming our family, friends. Even though we are not upset with them, angry with them, we are not saying bad thing to them, we are not being so aggressive to them, but that having that energy just make them uncomfortable, tight, unrelaxed. So important. I have a friend, instead, and that is, he has some anger issues. He said, because I asked him how he came to the Buddhism and the path, and he had anger issues, and the anger issue so bad that he started, destroy the environment of joyful and happiness every time he go with his friends, weekend and other places, because of his anger issues. They can feel that, and it make them. You went for vacations, you went for a weekend to enjoy, and then it ruins everyone's joy and happiness. After some time, they stop inviting him. They stop, wanting to go with him. So he felt kind of left out. Nobody wanted to go with him. That is when he realized he need to do something. And he said he Googled, and then, how to deal with anger. And then he found Buddhism meditation, and that is how he came. So that is one example. When you have that anger, how it destroys the peace and enjoyment of everyone around you. Sometimes we don't recognize, sometimes we think, oh, we can see with ourselves how it's making painful, but sometimes we don't realize how it's making people around you. So with that kind of understanding, then we make effort. We make all the effort to learn those different meditations, different techniques. And not only learn, we try to apply them, try to practice them as much as possible so that we don't get overtaken by such negative emotions. That's one thing we have to really understand how harmful it is. How harmful it is. As Shantideva said, if you destroy your anger, then you don't have to destroy your external enemy. There's no more external enemy. When you don't have internal enemy with anger, there's no more external enemy. So when you destroy internal, it's same as destroying the external enemy. Whereas if you don't destroy the internal enemy, you can destroy all the external enemies. Still there will be something that disturbs your mind. Even though there's no person to disturb you, still, when you have anger issue, the noise of the wind will make you upset, angry. The noise of the water will make you upset and angry. The weather will make you upset and angry. So you still have something that upset you. But when that anger is done, then as he said, unsubdued. You cannot subdue all sentient beings, unsubdued, because it's vast, countless. But when you subdue inside your external, it is same as subduing all the external enemy. And he gave a good example, like you might not have enough leather to cover the whole area if it is full of bushy thorn, but you just put one small leather shoes and you can protect. You don't have to destroy all that to protect. It's same like that. It's endless if we have to destroy others. But destroy this one enemy inside, and then there's no more enemy from your side. And that is the main enemy. We feel that person, this person is our enemy. That harms us, that hurts us. But actually, it is our anger. It is mainly our anger. If you have no anger, then that is not a big problem. So therefore, first we have to understand, and then that. So some of the practice meditations, that can be helpful to overcome the anger and to have more patience and calm mind and undisturbed by anger and head, As Shantideva explained, when someone hit you with a stick, you experience the pain from being hit by the stick. What creates your pain directly is the stick. But you don't get upset to the stick, you get upset to the person. Isn't it? Do you get angry or upset to the stick or the person? We get angry and upset to the person, not the stick, even though we are experiencing the pain directly from the stick. Why? Because we think, the stick didn't come itself. There's someone who's holding the stick that's the case, same way that person is hitting with stick or harming you because there's someone behind that, some energy behind that that's controlling that person. That is their delusions. It's the delusions, not the person itself. The person is helpless in that moment. In that moment, that person has been overpowered by anger, overpowered by ignorance, overpowered by jealousy, overpowered by greediness, one of those negative emotions. Someone is being overpowered for that, so that energy overpower that person and that person become powerless in that moment. In the moment of that powerless, then someone hurts. So to understand that person is helpless, powerless. So when you feel that, you feel maybe even compassions. And it's not just making up, you see with your own experience. In everyday life, we never want to hurt our loved ones, families, parents, children, your friends. We don't want to hurt them. We try to protect them. That is our intentions. We always want to help them. We always want to protect them. We never want to hurt them, harm them. But we find hurting them, harming them time to time. Sometimes very harsh words. Sometimes even maybe sometimes physically a little aggressive. And later, we feel very ashamed sometimes, embarrassed, so bad. We feel bad. We keep on saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I couldn't, and you feel so bad about yourself. How bad person I am, how bad partner, how bad parent, how bad children, how bad friends, that I act that way, I said that way. What does that shows? It shows that we don't want it to do that behavior, that harmful actions. If you don't want, why did you do that? If you don't want, why did you do that? Because in that moment we couldn't control our mind. That is it. In that moment you couldn't control your mind. You didn't have the power or control over the mind. In that moment, whatever that anger, jealousy, whatever that negative emotions was too strong, overpower you, you become powerless, and then you do something that you don't want to do. And by that, it harms and hurts someone. Someone you don't want to hurt, you don't want to harm. Don't we find that in that situations sometimes? Yeah? So is our real experience, situation is not just making up. That is same when someone is hurting, harming someone. Same in that moment when they are hurting and harming, their mind is overpowered by one of those negative emotions. In that some moment they become powerless. So instead of blaming the persons and being upset with the persons, then because in that moment that person no power, it becomes no control, no power. It's something that's controlling and power of that person, and that is the delusions. So the delusions It's like a remote control of that person's to behave in that way, to act in that harmful way. With such understanding, then we learn not to get upset. Instead, maybe feel compassion. And in relation to that, some of the examples that you find in Sutra as well as many of the Lojong practice is, seeing like someone who has been possessed by some other energy spirit. When someone is possessed by some kind of spirit, then they become someone else. And with someone else, then they can engage in harmful actions. But someone who knows they are being possessed by the spirit is not that person, but is that spirit that's possessing that person is behaving in that harmful way. They don't get upset with that person, but they think, oh, how can I help the person to get free of being possessed by that negative energy? You want to help. Is there any way? How can I help this person to be free from being possessed by such spirit or such energy, negative energies, because it's harmful not only to others but harmful to that person itself. So you don't feel angry with that person, even when they are not so, even when they engage in some kind of harmful, hurtful actions. See like that. Similarly, just by being possessed by the spirit here, this is being possessed by those negative emotions. Another example is someone who has, biological mental issues. Someone who has biological mental issues and have no control. In the moments, time to time, they try to, they shout, they curse, they say all kinds of things, sometimes even physically try to be aggressive to very people who try to help them. The doctor, the nurse, their family, friends, the family, the friends, the nurse, doctors are there to help, but that person's sometimes become very aggressive. But even though they engage in such aggressive, harmful actions, everyone knows why that person is behaving that way. Everyone knows that person has no control because of that illness. So they don't feel so angry and upset. Instead, they feel compassion. Is there any treatment? Is there any method? Is there something that I can help to free from that so that he or she doesn't act that way? That he or she can be free from that such actions. Same way, when someone act in harmful actions, hurtful actions, that person act because that person's have this illness, chronic illness of the delusions. So that through such understanding, reflecting, then we learn not to be upset and angry. Instead, feel compassion. It's like someone cannot be themselves because some other energy becomes so strong that it take control and overpower them in that moment. So it's like they are prisoner in that moment. They are really being prisoner and tortured by those afflictive emotions. They are being tortured by the anger. They are being tortured by the jealousy. They are being tortured by the, ignorance. Whatever that emotions is making them to do, that is torturing them. So when you see that is torturing them, you can see instead of anger, compassion. So through that we learn not to be so upset, angry. So, as Aryadeva said in his, 400 understands us, The Buddha taught the fault is the delusion, not the person. If the person doesn't have that delusion, he or she will never act that way. If the persons do not have one of those delusions, he or she will never hurt and harm. The only reason why they hurt and harm is because of one of those delusions. So it's not the fault of the person, it's the fault of the delusions. So therefore, there's no reason to get upset and angry with the persons. So in that, the important to differentiate persons and persons' actions. Very important to differentiate the person and person's actions. Because the person's actions is harmful, we should try to stop it. We should try to, take actions to stop such harmful actions. Because it is hurting, harming someone and themselves. But not being upset with the persons, instead being compassionate. So the persons, and if you are compassionate to the persons, it doesn't mean you are okay with their actions. They are harmful actions. Do you get it? You can be compassionate to others. You can be not upset, angry to the person, or even be compassionate, but at the same time, you take actions to stop such harmful behavior and actions. There's no contradictions to that. But if we don't differentiate the person's action, then it becomes same. So therefore we have to differentiate the person and person's actions. Because person's action is harmful, therefore you take action to stop. But at the same time you feel compassion for the persons. To be able to feel compassion. And so that is one thing that we need to understand. And also to understand, as Shantideva mentions, whether that person's nature is like that, or if that is temporary, in the moment. If it is the nature of that person's to be such harmful in behavior, like, there's no point of getting angry. That is who they are. They cannot change. It's the nature of them. You just try to avoid them, being too close to them. It's just the fire. Nature of the fire is burning. You cannot change that. Nature of the fire. That's what it is. So what you can do is just kind of keep distant, so they don't get burned by the fire by being too close. So there's no reason to get upset to the fire to have this burning nature. If it is not the nature of the persons to be harmful and to act in harmful way and hurtful, if it's just temporary because of certain cause and condition, also there's no reason to get so upset. Because those cause and conditions comes and they behave that way, and their cause and conditions change, and they don't act like that anymore. And they are kind, compassionate, caring. So there's no reason to hold so much anger and hatred in that way. And instead, to be able to let it go and forgive and let it go as soon as possible. Also, contemplating from the point of view of that, if you look from one point of view, it seems harmful. But if you look from another point of view, it can be helpful. Such action, such behavior. when we look from ordinary point of view, is hurtful, harmful. But if you look from beyond ordinary point of view, from spiritual point of view, someone serious Dharma practitioner, someone who really, truly want to practice, such as patience, and develop that practice and complete and perfect such practice. For such practitioner, such person, and such person's actions is very helpful, because such person and such person's actions give them opportunity to practice the patience. And because they have give them opportunity to practice, and because they are sincerely practicing, then they really learn how to be patient. And through that, they really are able to perfect the practice of patience and complete the practice of patience. Through perfect and completed the practice of patience, then they are able to deal with any situations without being disturbed. It's like they develop incredible protections or tool, because such person pose actions. Now they can apply that everywhere, and they don't get hurt and harmed by, feel hurt by that, and they develop that because of that. So it's like a great jewel, gems, that for them is like finding a precious gems. So from practitioner point of view, that is how they feel. So they appreciate very much. They cherish it very much. They hold it very precious. And that is what, probably you have heard of Lama Adisha, Adisha Dibamkara, one of the great Indian masters who came to Tibet around 10 centuries. From India, he brought with his tea boy to make a boy who makes his tea, But this boy his personality, character is very annoying, very disturbing and annoying, So some of the students in Tibet, Adisha's disciples, students say, no, Lama, why do you need to keep him for tea? We can make the tea. You can let it go. You can let him go. He's so annoying. He's so disturbing. And, you don't have to keep, we can serve you. We can make the tea and serve you. You don't need. And Adisha says, that is very reason I brought you with him, because his nature is very annoying and very, kind of not easy. His character or his personality is not easy and very difficult and very annoying. And that is the very reason why I brought you with him, and that's why I want him, because he helped me in my practice. That is, he could easily get him, is not because he's hearing, but he cannot find better person to serve. But he continued to keep him as a precious gem, not letting it go. Why? Because it's really helping him to put in the practice. Otherwise, you get rid of that. Everyone is nice to you, kind to you. No one disturb you. No one is annoying you. Then you think, oh, my mind is not disturbed. I must be doing quite well with my patients. We might be deceiving ourselves. We think, oh, maybe my practice of patience quite well, because I didn't get disturbed whole month, whole year. It's not because you have good practice of patience, because there's no one to disturb. And there is an example of another stories, in Tibet, Lhasa capital, there is the most holy, one of the most holy temple, Cho temple, where people come doing different practice around there, people meditating, prostrating, circumambulating, offerings, all different practice, different people doing different practice around that. And one of the person who was circumambulating, he haven't seen one of his friends for a long time, and then suddenly he saw there when you were circulating in corner, and then told him, "No, I haven't seen you for a long time. What have you been doing? Where have you been?" And he said, "No, I've been in a retreat doing some practice." "Oh, what were you meditating? What were you doing retreat on?" And he said, "Oh, I was doing on patience, you know." And then his friend said, "Oh, really? Then you should eat the shit. If you have been practicing doing a retreat on patience, then you should eat the shit." And he got very upset. "You eat the shit." And then his friend said, "Is that the patience that you have been practicing?" So he was checking how well he did, because that is what he has been doing retreat, meditating. So he wanted to check how well he did. And then he said, he provoked him, saying, "Oh, if that is the case, then you must eat shit." And it really hurt him and upset him. He said, "You eat the shit." And that is a very good example. You are retreat, nobody is bothering you, nobody is disturbing you, and so they may, my practice of patience is well. My mind is calm, undisturbed, unagitated. As soon as someone is annoying, someone point you and someone says something, then that is where then anger arises. It annoys you. So if you don't have that opportunity, you can be in a retreat for a long time, and you might not really have the opportunity to really practice patience, and you might not be able to perfect that practice. So therefore, from that perspective, from that point of view, such person and such person's action becomes so precious, like how Adisha finds so precious. You see, Langli Tamba, who wrote the 8 Verses of Mind Training, he found that people who criticize him, who talk bad about him, he finds very precious, because it gives him opportunity to practice. Every time he hears someone is criticizing, saying bad things, he will send offerings to them to thank, appreciate. Of course, he didn't say, "I thank you and appreciate because you are criticizing him," but when he hears someone from them, he just sends someone, through someone, just please offer to that person. That are true for true practitioners, such as that, then such persons are extremely precious, extremely beneficial. From that point of view, is not objects of anger, is object of appreciation, gratitude. And when you feel that person's action with that kind of gratitude and preciousness, then there's no reason to get upset and angry. At the moment, we cannot see it's precious. At the moment, we cannot see it as useful. We only see it's harmful. And therefore, that's why our mind is disturbed and agitated and angry. So that is, as Shandeva also said that thing, and there's a long discussion on that, meditations, within your mind, back and forth. Also, one of the practice in our Bodhisattva's path, that is something we make prayer, we try to practice to reduce and crush the ego, self-importance, because we see that this attitude of self-importance and the ego is the root of the suffering, is the root, is the main obstacle or interference to develop true love compassion, bodhicitta mind. So that is something we pray that our ego, our self-important attitude get less, destroy, that for us to develop true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind. We practice in order to do that, to create merit, to purify the obstacles, so we can do that. We meditate to do that. Even with all of that, we find difficult to reduce and crush our ego and self-important attitude, isn't it? But this person with that person's actions really crush your ego. You know? By that person disrespectful actions, it really hurts your ego. It really crushes your ego. With that person looking down on you, humiliating, by doing that, your ego is really hurt. Your self-important attitude really hurt. It's really crushed. It's really crushed. It's like step down like that. So that person is helping. Something we have not been successful, which we want to do, but we have not been successful. Now this person is helping to crush that ego, to crush that self-important attitude. From that perspective, we should be grateful, thankful. It's the best, you know. This is something that we pray, we wish to have something that we can crush our ego, and with many other practice we find difficult, but with this person's, with that person's actions, it really crushes our ego. And we should be, true practitioners in that, then they feel so grateful. They feel so grateful. Thank you for crushing my ego. Thank you for crushing my self-important attitude that I have found difficult to crush. Now you crush it. You stack it. It's like stacking on some kind of grass that it cannot grow. Make very hard to grow. Really grow your ego. Really crush that. And so that is how it is. So from that perspective, you feel precious, grateful. Therefore, in all the lojong and all this training, that such persons are the best guru, the best spiritual practice teacher. And when you see your spiritual teachers, your guru, you don't get upset and angry. You should be grateful, gratitude, respectful. Same way, such true practitioners, and that's how they feel when they see such persons. Just like they see the true guru, grateful, thankful, gratitude, and respectful. So when you feel that way, there is no space for your mind to get upset and angry and disturb your mind. And that when you do that, then you are able to keep your mind not disturbed, not agitated by anger, upset. And that is how the patience is. That's the patient mind. You are able to develop patient mind and not get upset and angry because you see positive in that. Instead of seeing the negative side, you see positive side from that angle. So that is meditation. When you study Santideva, that is how meditation. So that is not only that you in your meditation you analyze, you think that way again and again, and really feel, oh, this person is really precious through a practice. This person's action is really helpful. Really helpful and really precious to really practice and to develop that. So that is all about, to really, when you feel that kind of preciousness, when you feel through such different way of analyzing, contemplating, meditating, and you start to feel precious. Before you feel that person's useless and harmful and all. Now, when you look from that perspective, you see, oh, it's really helping my practice. It's really helping my patience. And then you started to feel preciousness. And then you started to feel, more gratitude than anger. More appreciative than disturbed. And when you do that, then your mind calm, not being disturbed. And so that's the patient. Sometimes I like to give this example. In our schools, we have two kinds of teachers. Okay, theoretical teacher and practical teacher. Yeah, theoretical teachers in the classrooms, they explain all the theory, how to cook, or how to gardening. If you are learning about cooking, if you are learning about gardening, there's theoretical teachers who teach you how to garden or how to cook on that. Then there's a practical teacher who will actually take into the field, take into the kitchen, and then make you do what you have learned from theoretical. You take them to the garden and you make them do the garden, and then by doing, then that's where you really learn. Where you really learn is not only from the theoretical, but in practical field. Then you really learn how to cook or how to garden or all other things, mechanic and whatever different in that whatever field it is. Same way, our other teachers who explain how to practice, how to meditate, how to contemplate, all is more like theoretical teacher. They teach you how to practice, how to meditate, how to contemplate, all of that. Now this person is saying, you have learned how to practice patience from your teachers. You have learned all this theory about how to practice patience. Now let's do it. So this is the practical teacher. So he's saying that with such actions, and even though they don't think as a teacher, but like what they are doing is just like the practical teacher now is saying, this is what you have learned theory, now let's put into practice. And only when you put into the practice in such situation, in practical way, only then you can be good at that. Otherwise, you will never be good at that. It's all in here, all in mind, all in theory. It's just like information that is in Google. You have all the informations, how to practice, how to meditate, how to contemplate. All the theory are there, all the information are there, but still you are upset, still you are angry, not much change, because we have not put those into the practice, in practical. And so, who give you that opportunity to put them in practice, in practical, is those such person and such person actions. Such person with such actions. So when you see that, then you say, oh, just like you see that this is my theoretical practice teacher, this is my practical teachers, same way, this is my practical teachers. This is my practical guru. And so you see as a guru. And therefore, as Lojong and in all the says, your best teacher for true practitioners are such persons with such actions, with such persons, your sufferings, your challenges, your obstacles, your problems. These are the best teachers. These are the best teachers. From we can really learn and grow spiritually. If we don't have all of that, then it's hard to really put practice and really grow. So that is a little bit with the patience of remaining calm in facing harm. And the second practice, the practice of patience in dealing with the sufferings, obstacles, problems. That is another, And again, we have aversions, we dislike the problem, we dislike and have aversions to obstacles, to suffering and problems. And because we dislike and we have aversion, then when we encounter them, we get upset, impatient and upset. And due to that impatient and upset, then our mind is disturbed, agitated. So again, here, the way to see is something positive. We dislike and we have aversion. Why? Because we see it only as a negative. We see the suffering as a negative. We see the obstacle as a negative. We see difficulties and challenge, problem as negative. That is why we dislike them. That is why we have aversion to them. Because we dislike and have strong aversion, when we encounter them, then it disturbs our mind. So here, the training is to see them positive, not just negative. Looking from positive point of view. If you look from positive point of view, and if you are able to see positive in that, because you try to look from different glasses. At the moment, we look from one glasses, and now with a yellow glass, you see everything yellow. Now we try to see with the blue glass and see blue. It's not all yellow. Similarly, then you try to see with different glass, from different angle, different point, positive point of view. And when you try to see it, reflect, contemplate, and when you are able to see it, then you don't have strong dislike like before. You don't have strong aversion like before. If you don't have strong dislike, aversion, when it encounters in your life, you wouldn't be so disturbed and upset. So you are able to keep your mind calm, peaceful, undisturbed, even when we face such situation, experiences. So as Shandeva explained, and in our Lojong, there are many different ways to reflect, contemplate, meditate by seeing positive side of that. One of them is by seeing that, by experiencing whatever sufferings, obstacles, problems, that we are clearing, purifying all the negative karma. And because we are clearing, purifying all the negative karma, even if it's a little bit unpleasant, even if it's a little bit discomfort at the moment, but in long term is good. Long term is good. If we don't clear now, if we don't, purify and cleanse now through such experience, that negative karma force will get more stronger and stronger. And then in the future, you experience 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more bigger, stronger than that. So therefore, it's a good. It's like you have food poisoning, and now you are throwing up. Throwing up is unpleasant, but it's a good now because you have to throw all that. Otherwise, you will not recover from that. that from food poisoning, the way to recover is, throwing up from up and down. Even it's a little unpleasant, discomfort, but it's a good sign. Now you will be clear of that food poisoning. I had a food poisoning at one time in New Mexico. And normally, so there was so much gas going on, almost like at a certain time you feel like, I wish that either I throw it from up and down, but it was not happening. And for 1 or 2 days, it was just rolling the fire and it's all. And so, so I had to find a way, get some medicine, something to drink, something so that I can throw and I can go in the bathroom, And then when that happened, it's such a relief. Of course, it is pleasant. It's not pleasant running into the bathroom, and then coming, and again suddenly you feel like you need to go. Unpleasant, but at the same time, I feel happy because I feel now it is process of clearing and cleansing. Same thing. When we go through that, it's that same process. Otherwise you will experience much more bigger, and so therefore feeling joyful. And when you think from that perspective, then you don't see so bad. It's a little bit of discomfort, unpleasant, but in long term, it's good. You feel that, then you don't have strong aversions, dislike. And therefore, if you don't have that strong aversion and dislike, when you face it, then you wouldn't be so disturbed and upset. So that is one way of looking from the karmic point of view, positively, not negatively, but positively, from that point of view. Another one, as Shandeva explained, without the sufferings, because of the sufferings, obstacles and problems, and all these challenges, it helps us to reduce our arrogance. It helps us to develop compassion, empathy, compassion. So again, it's good. If you don't have that, if you have not gone through that suffering, that obstacle, that problems, that pain, whatever that is, if someone talk about that pain, problem, suffering, maybe sometimes we might not understand fully what they are talking about. So when you don't understand fully, you cannot empathize with them so much. You cannot really feel the compassions. Why are you complaining? We might feel that way. It's such a small problem. It's not a big deal. Do you get it? Sometimes people say that, sometimes we feel that. It's not a big deal, it's a small. Why you are so complaining? Why you are so being so negative? Sometimes because we don't understand fully what it is like to be in that state. But someone who has gone through that, they know exactly what it is like to be in that state. And because they have gone through that, they know what exactly is to be in that state, how painful it is to be, how bad it is to be in that state. They can easily empathize with someone who have that. They can really feel for their pain and suffering. They can really have compassion to them. And so therefore, the compassion, loving kindness, bodhicitta is something those who inspire to follow the bodhisattva path, that is something we inspire to develop, those state of mind, those qualities. We put a lot of effort, a lot of practice to develop those. And through such, by experiencing such suffering, such obstacles, such problem, if we really, by seeing, I'm not the only one who is going through this. There are so many others who are going through this. Some of them much more worse than myself, than my situations. When we really applying that way, then we started to feel others' pain, others' sufferings. And with that understanding and feeling of other pain and suffering, it allows ourselves to feel compassion to them and to develop compassion, loving kindness, bodhicitta. So isn't it more? It is therefore is extremely helpful, beneficial to open our mind to feel compassion for others. From that perspective, even though it's a little bit of unease, discomfort, unpleasant, but it's like when you invest in the business, first year, second year you lose a little bit, and maybe third year, fourth year you start to make money, profit. And someone who knows that, even though they are losing, they don't mind it. They don't get so discouraged and hopeless because they know the way you will start to see profit. Same way, even it's a little bit unpleasant, a little bit uncomfortable, but in long term, it's good because it is helping me to develop this bodhicitta, this compassion. And there's nothing more meaningful and higher than to be able to develop that compassion, loving kindness, bodhicitta. So then you appreciate, because of this problem, I was able to empathize, I was able to feel compassion. Because of this obstacle, I'm able to feel the compassion. Because of these problems and challenges, so then you have different perspective. Now you see things differently. Now you see something beneficial, helpful. And because now you see it as a beneficial and helpful in your spiritual path, your spiritual growth, your spiritual progress on the path, you don't have such a dislike and aversion like you had before. And when you don't have that strong aversion, dislike like before, when you encounter, when you face, your mind is not disturbed, agitated. That's the patient mind. Same way, as I said, arrogant, self-important is one of the, again, main interference to develop true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind. But when we face sufferings, obstacles, challenges, and problems, it helps us to be let go of arrogant and more grounded. It makes us humble, put us to the ground. When everything's going well, no obstacles, no problem, no suffering, everything's perfect, and you start thinking, I'm doing well, I must be good, and you started to be a little bit, we could become a little bit delusional, and then we started to feel we are more better than we are, and sense of arrogance, supremacy could creep in, I'm better than others. They cannot manage their family, I'm able to manage my families. They cannot manage their relations, I'm able to manage my relationship. They cannot, or these cannot manage their business, I'm able to manage my business, my monies. They cannot manage their health, I'm able to manage my health. All this kind of attitude and sense of superiority that you are better than others can come and creep it and lead you to arrogant, self-important, all of that. But when something like obstacle that, it crushes all of that. It crushes you, make you humble. Make you humble. And so again, as a true practitioner, we want to be humble. We try to be humble. Well, we're practicing to be more humble, truly humble, not just pretending to be humble, but truly humble, and to overcome the arrogant. And with this situation, it put us in that. In this situation, the obstacle, the suffering, all of that help us to be more humble, grounded, less arrogant. Again, from that perspective, again, then you begin to say, oh, it's not bad. It's very beneficial and helpful for my spiritual growth, for my spiritual progress in my spiritual path. So you started to appreciate. Before you dislike aversion, now you don't have not so dislike aversion, but you started to even appreciate. And so when you have that attitude, then even when you encounter such, then it doesn't become something that disturbs your mind. Instead, you are able to keep your mind calm, peaceful. So that is the practice and the training, of patience in dealing with the sufferings, And when you are able to practice and deal that, then when you are able to practice in that way, then problem doesn't become problem. It's no more problem. Before it was problem, now it is not problem. Obstacle doesn't become obstacle. Before it was obstacle, now it is no more obstacles. Suffering doesn't become suffering. Before it was painful suffering, now it is no more painful and suffering. And you are able to down from all of that. It's a problem, it's an obstacle, it's a pain, because we look from different mental perspective. Now we change that mental attitude, that mental perspective, we see differently, and now because of that, all that change. And then, when you are able to do that, then you begin to really find more peace and joy in your life, regardless what kind of situation you face. Then coming to the next paramita, the paramita of perseverance, the fourth paramita. And again, perseverance is, the nature of perseverance is the diligent or the effort or perseverance of joy in virtues, being joyful in your virtues, your practice, virtues practice, that. And such perseverance is antidote towards laziness. Laziness, antidote towards, loss of self-confidence, and antidote towards the distractions, and so that, and as Shantideva said, as well as Methira says in Ornamental Sutras, the perseverance is the root of all the virtues. All the spiritual realizations, different level of spiritual realization, they all come on the basis of perseverance. If there is no perseverance, you cannot achieve anything, whether in worldly or beyond worldly spiritual realizations. Hard work, perseverance. Without the hard work, perseverance, you cannot achieve anything. some people, because their past karma, they are able to achieve, even maybe without so much effort, so much perseverance in life, but the perseverance hard effort has already gone in the past. Because of past effort and perseverance, so they have created the cause and condition to require less effort now, because the effort has already done before, but without the effort, the hard work, it's hard to achieve anything. And so perseverance is the key to success. Perseverance is key to success in our worldly life, as well as is perseverance is key to success in our spiritual path. And here, when we talk about perseverance, we are not talking about just the effort and perseverance. We are talking about, when we talk about the paramita, talking perseverance, the objects of your perseverance should be the virtues. Okay? We can put effort and perseverance, enthusiasm in non-virtues. That is not the paramita one. That is ordinary perseverance. But here, that kind of perseverance, the object should be virtues. And not only there is in this perseverance, not only there is a perseverance or diligence or effort in the virtues, but another factor is there should be joy in that. The joy in engaging that virtues, that factors. If you don't have joy in engaging that virtues, then it doesn't become this perseverance. The fourth paramita. In order to be the fourth paramita, the joyful effort or perseverance, there must be these factors or level of joyfulness in engaging that virtues. And the main obstacle to have that kind of perseverance is laziness. One of them is laziness. So to overcome the laziness, then we try to meditate on impermanent, especially death impermanent. If you really meditate on death impermanent, then there is no room to be lazy. That's why Milarepa, meditated and worked day and night. No time for laziness, but meditate day and night because he understood death could come anytime, any moment, and you might not have any next opportunity to practice. This moment might be the last moment. So every moment he felt, this year might be the last year, this month could be the last month, this week might be the last week, this day might be the last day, this hour, this minute could be the last for me to meditate, practice, and opportunity to do that. And because of that, having meditated and have that realization, so I feel every moment is so precious. Every moment, no time to waste. There is a story of one of the Kadamba masters, He was living in a cave, meditating, And by the cave, some bush started to grow. Each time he went to the bathroom, because they don't have an attachment bathroom in the caves, okay? They had to go out. When he went to the bathroom, because that bush, his robe will be caught there. And he would think, oh, maybe when I come back, I will cut it. But then he think, oh, impermanent, oh, maybe I might die before I cut it. Oh, what is more important, to cut it or to meditate if I have only a few minutes? meditation is more important. So he forgot to cut, he will meditate. And that is every day, every day it keep on cutting his, and every time he think that maybe he need to take care of it, but when he think of impermanent and that it could die, I could die before I ever cut. And so that way, and that's how they feel no time to waste. Every moment is precious. Every moment is precious and no time to waste every moment. And because of that, there's no time for laziness. So meditating on, of course, for us, when we don't have that realization, even when we meditate on impermanent, dead impermanent, we might not feel that immediately at the very beginning. But again, as we meditate and as meditation gets better and practice gets better and stronger, then eventually, when you have that realization, then same way, one can also feel, every moment is precious and every moment is, no time to waste, and then no time for late. There's no time for laziness. And same way, another is, we get distracted. We get distracted. So, ordinary things, worldly things, lot of things, worldly lot of things, and thereby, again, um, not having the time, energy, and perseverance towards the virtues, towards the practice, because all the time, energies we have, we get distracted to other things. We cannot find time to practice the virtues, the practice. A lot of time we are spending other worldly things. And we don't have energy to practice because we are exhausted by engaging in all these other things, worldly things. We are exhausted from that. So when we try to practice, meditate, we are very tired, exhausted. And so then there is no more joyfulness in your meditation practice because you are exhausted. And therefore, since there is no joyfulness in their meditation, then there is no this particular perseverance of that. So that is one of the obstacles. Again, to overcome that obstacles, then we meditate again on impermanent as well as the meditating on essence-less of these worldly things. That these worldly objects of desire, all these worldly things cannot really bring us true happiness. They don't give us true happiness. They cannot give us true inner peace and happiness. Also meditating on, by being attached to them, by distracted, running after them, how we create negative karma, and as a consequences, we don't experience happiness, but instead we experience sufferings. Through such understanding meditation, again, we learn not to be too distracted to them, and if we are less distracted, then we will have more time, more energies to engage in the virtues. And one of the other obstacles is not having a confidence, self-confidence in our practice. We feel, this bodhisattva's practice is vast and extensive, and we feel I'm incapable, we feel that I'm incapable, maybe it's not for me. But again, we meditate on Buddha nature, how each of us has that potential to become fully awake, fully enlightened. How our mind, the fundamental nature of our mind is pure. free from all the delusion in its nature. How these delusions are temporary. Also meditating on how, even though sometimes we feel difficult, but how everything becomes easy after you have become practice and become familiar. Nothing is difficult when you have become familiar. It's difficult when you are not familiar with everything. But once you become familiar, things become more and more easy. And in some same way, giving self-confidence. Even though I find it little difficult now, but if I keep on doing and if I become more and more familiar with that over the time, it will become easier. Because that's how things are, everything. So through overcoming those obstacles, we try to develop, perseverance in the virtues. And by applying the 4 factors that help to develop the joyous effort. One is aspirations. You need to have aspirations in your practice, whatever practice, the virtuous practice. If you don't have inspiration, then you cannot put much effort. Unable to put much effort. And so, in order to have the inspiration, then we meditate, contemplate on all the goodness and benefit of those virtuous practice. The more we contemplate, the more we reflect, meditate on all the different benefit that we could achieve, that we can get from those practice. The more you see that, the more you feel that, the more inspiration you have. So that we try to meditate. It's just like everything's in the market when new things comes, and then the marketing publicists, they do how this thing can fix this problem, how good this is to fix this and this. The more you hear, the more you need, the more you feel I need that. The more you want. Same thing. The more we reflect, benefit of that, the more you feel inspired to achieve that. Aspirations. And then self-confidence and steady mind. That is important to have the steady and self-confidence that we can do it, that we can make it. The more self-confidence that you can do it, you can make it, the more enthusiasm you have. When you feel I cannot do it, then even you don't have the enthusiasm in doing that. It feels like burden. It feels like burden, responsibility. Whereas when you have more confidence and belief, self-belief and more confidence, I can achieve it, I can do it, I can accomplish it, then, it gives more boost, more energy, more enthusiasm, And so that kind of self-confidence or the steady mind and self-belief is another factor that we try to develop so that we can have more enthusiasm in the virtues and in that. And especially here, the Bodhisattva practices. And the other one is joyfulness. Trying to develop joyfulness in your practice, in your virtues. Whatever practice, whatever virtues you engage into, try to make it enjoyable, joyfulness. Instead of feeling, oh, I have commitment, I have to do it. And feeling of burden. And feeling, if I can skip it, I wouldn't mind it. But when you start enjoying it, you feel missing something. Oh, I missed that. I couldn't do that. I wish I could. I couldn't find time. So that kind of enthusiasm comes because when you start enjoying that, when you start doing something, you enjoy it. It becomes less stressful. Even when you have done long hour, you become less tiring. If you don't enjoy it, half hour can be very tiring. If you enjoy it, 3 hours can be not tiring. Same thing, you do 3 hours, still you don't know how the time went. Oh, time is already went, 3 hours? Feel like 5 hours, and 5 minutes. But when you don't enjoy half hour, it feels like one day, 1 week. Oh, what is the time? That is, and so that is where you try to bring joyfulness in your practice. However way you can make it joyful, find a way to make it joyful, try to find a way to make it joyful. That is another factor. And then, to be able to relax. Another factor is to be able to relax and rest when you need it. When our body and our mind need to rest and relax, you need to know. You need to know when your body needs to relax and rest. You need to know when your mind needs to relax and rest. And knowing that, to be able to relax and to be able to rest is important for continuity. So that you have this perseverance, continuity, as the scripture says, it's like the running of the river, always there. Even though maybe some of the river are not more anymore like that. But rivers that run out through the mountains, that is continued all the time throughout the years. In the same way, so in order to have that kind of perseverance, continuity like that, you need to know when to rest and relax when you need it. Sometimes we get too enthusiastic and then we forget to check our body and mind and we overdo it and then you burn out. You burn out. Sometimes your body burn out. Sometimes your mind burn out. Sometimes both burn out. Then practice bye-bye. And I have seen so many students like that. At the very beginning, so enthusiastic. And I get a little worried when they become too enthusiastic because I feel maybe. And then after some time, they are gone. You never see them. Because they overdid it. Instead of taking, continuity, staple, that is much better long term, consistent, and slowly, and that. And then after some time, you overdid it, and then you break down, and then it becomes obstacles to your practice. Sometimes now, your body cannot manage. Sometimes your mind is disturbed because you burn out, and that is one of the key factors to have more continuity, better result long term, to be able to be mindful and listen to your body and mind. And knowing, when you need to push it, because you are being lazy, sometimes we need to push it a little bit. But sometimes you push too much, then your body and mind cannot take it. Then that becomes a problem. So with knowing exactly when to push it, when you are lazy, and knowing when to relax and rest when your body and mind need it. And finding that balance is the key to longevity and better result in your practice. So those are some of the factors, 4 factors that will help to develop the this parameter of perseverance in your virtues. And so, just with both with the patience and perseverance, as I mentioned yesterday, in order to be parameter, then the motivation has to be both chitta, and then the practice should be also supported by the wisdom, seeing the emptiness, and those part as well. And okay, so I think that's all. So I can take 1 or 2 questions if anyone has questions. You don't have to feel that you have to ask unless you really have.
How we know when when we need to rest or we need to push?
Listening.
Mind and body.
Listening to your body and the mind.
Yeah.
Being more mindful and listening.
How?
How? Be more mindful.
How?
How? You drink 1 glass of wine.
Okay.
And you maybe you might need maybe more than 1, maybe 3 or 4 before you get drunk, and then you'll be most mindful.
I will lose the count.
Yeah. Is mindfulness is being your mind in the moment, in present. We learn first with the breath, but you try to learn that with everything. What is happening with my body? What is happening with my mind? How am I feeling now my bodies? How am I feeling my minds? Am I feeling my mind disturbed? Am I feeling my mind calm, peaceful? Am I feeling compassion? Am I feeling angry? So different, you analyze and then try to be more mindful of what is going in your mind, what is going in your bodies. And with the practice, so then one is able to know, when something's feeling not right, then you know that there's something with your bodies, and then you can take care of it more. Your mind is starting to get a little bit, disturbed, or your mind is starting to have little doubt about something, or your mind is starting to have different things that is happening in our mind. A lot of times we are not even aware. And one day it just explodes. It just doesn't come out of nowhere. It has been building up slowly over the time, but we are not aware of that build. And we feel like it is the moment, but many of them is not in the moment. It is something that you have built up. And so, but if you are more mindful when it started to come, then you will be more aware of that. And then you will be able to take care of it. Yeah. Okay? Then we do the dedications.
Lama Sangye Dugyume
Doa Chikang Malupa Esada Vehansho Chere Singwan Tenzin Gyatso Yi Shape Sinte Partu Tenkyo Shi. We also dedicate for the quick return of Geshe Lama Sabar Moche and all the obstacles for his studies and to be, clear the obstacles and to be able to be benefit, a great benefit like previous one. Tu tu jang xin jang gen jia ge den zin jong pe we kun su to ko zhe xiao song gu wei le mo tu tu pa dao so du jie gun du niu zhen. So again, thank you very much everyone here in person and those who are on the online Zoom. Again, I know everyone is busy with their job and life and family and that, but I think despite that, to make all the effort to come to the Dharma and to listen, and trying to practice as much as possible, is very precious. And thank you for making all this effort. And again, we talk about lot, and we might not be able to apply all of them in our everyday life now, but at least there are certain parts that we can apply and we can improve, and that's what we try to do. It's like we learn all, and then tomorrow we will be able to practice all of them the way it is described. But no, we make slow progress, slowly. It's a long time journey. It's not an instant journey, and so we have to have patience and think of long term. And then, but from all we discussed, there are certain practice that you can see, oh, I can apply that immediately, and I can improve on here. And those, whatever you find, something you can improve, something you can apply now, and we try to apply, we try to improve, we try to practice and increase and progress slowly in that way. Okay? And so we shouldn't be discouraged. Oh, this practice is something. At the moment, some of those practice we are describing or practice of high level bodhisattvas. Okay? So we are not there at the moment, we are at the very beginning. So, but slowly we can reach that point. And so, but at the very beginning, we start where we are and try to improve a little bit from there as much as we can. Okay, thank you very much, all your patience,
you.
everyone. Thank you.